Greetings, people of the internet! I am LUCHA MAN! And welcome to LUCHA MAN Reviews. Now, I'm very excited because today I am doing a book review, and I haven't gotten to do this in a while, so I might be a little rusty at this. Here's some interesting notes about the book I'm going to review. Not only am I reviewing the book, but I'm reviewing the entire series, since this is number 6 in the series. Now, I acquired these books a couple of years ago, and I thought last year when book 6 would come out, I was like, okay, then I'll do the entire series then. But ironically, the book was delayed until just this week. The first book was published in 2008, and then every year afterwards, once a year in September, books 2, 3, 4, and 5 were published. But for September of 2013, book 6 didn't come out, so we skipped a year and moved on to August. Well, enough about that. The author's name is Kaizu Kibushi, and if I have butchered the name, I apologize in advance. I'm pretty sure I did. So, I'll be reviewing the Amulet series today. Some notes before we get to the review. For starters, for each book, I'll review about it. Now, if you have the books, then this will be great for you. If you haven't, be warned, I'll try to keep as much spoilers out of it as I can, but I gotta talk at least a little bit about the book so I can convince you how it's either good or bad or somewhere in between. Now, each review I'll present an image of the cover, and while I do own all 6 books, for legal reasons, here's the legal stuff. I own the books, but I do not own the images or the rights to them. I am just posting them so you can see which book it is I'm reviewing, just to clarify so you don't get confused in between. I highly recommend the books, and if you have a few of the books but you haven't gotten the ones that I'm reviewing, you might want to just mute the sound for the books that I'm about to review. Okay, and for each book I will be doing it on a 5-star review, with 5 being awesome, 4 being great, 3 being good, 2 being average, and 1 being lousy. That's my score system. So yeah. So without further ado, let's start the review. Yeah, so book number 1, The Stonekeeper. Book number 1 is a pretty good starting point. Whatever period this piece is written, it takes place in the modern day real world. You see 2 parents driving with their kid Emily, trying to go pick up their son from their grandparents' house. And the son's name is Navin. So, like any good story, the story has to have a beginning and a middle, and this series has that so far. But the beginning, it starts with sorrow and conflict. At the very beginning, we see tragedy within the first 5 or 6 pages of the book. After the events of said tragedy, the book jumps ahead to 2 years after the tragic event. Emily and Navin are with their mother, and they are they have inherited their great-grandfather's house. And the house sits out in the sticks in the middle of nowhere. But there's something off about the house. There's some eerie presence about it. And they can't put their finger on it until some kind of giant, ghastly creature kidnaps their mother, and they have to go chase after it. They think, okay, what's going on around here? So they end up somehow transported to an entirely another world. A world that is filled with elves, strange plants, robots, and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff going on. Oh, and while there is technology, there's also magic. Apparently, they're able to work hand in hand together in this world. The main premise is that, since it's called Amulet, there is an amulet that, here's Emily, and here's the amulet that's around her neck. Basically, this is the key focal point for the entire series. These amulets, they generate magic power, and based on who uses them, they can either be used for good or evil, as there has to be conflict within the series. Alright, but just so we are abundantly clear, this book and all the books that follow afterward, the artwork is amazing. The illustration is incredible, I like the story, but the visuals are just really great. Like you have like some of the normal pages, and then like to help show the start of each chapter inside of the book, there's like this one page that is just a great amount of detail. So each book is illustrated very well, and the story, well, the first book is filled with conflict, and you're kind of bumbling around in the dark. You're like, okay, what's going on here? So many questions. So I give the first book 4 stars out of 5. Now, the first book was published in January of 2008, and here we start the September trend. In 2009, Amulet 2, The Stonekeeper's Curse. As you can see, the amulet is very, again, prominent on the cover. Now, the events from the first book, near the end, Emily and Navin's mom suffered, she was kidnapped, and she has been afflicted by an illness. So now the race is on to try to find a cure for her. So, as the story continues, Navin and Emily are trying to figure out how to navigate this new alien world, finding magic and friends and foes all along the way. It's great. It's a good story because we learn about the main antagonist of the series, but still, we are plagued by many questions about, like, who's friend, who is foe, what's going on, how does the magic work, how does the technology work. Once again, the story is a visual amazement, and we meet some new characters, both good and bad. And we also learn about how somehow the kids' fates are involved with this planet, this alien world somehow. Yeah, apparently there's magic that has been foretelling of their arrival and how they will help save the world and all that. Magic and destiny and all that stuff in these books. It's a really good story. It's pretty cool because like instead of the kids just being complete wimps about where they are and the situation they've been thrown into, they actually step up their game a bit. Emily is learning about magic, and Navin, her younger brother, has been prophesized and destined to be a great commander and help lead an army to help stop the forces of evil. Yeah, and then now near the end of the book, a very epic battle ensues, and okay, so we're left with more questions than answers. We do get some answers from the first book, and we get some answers in the second book, but the questions are like, what are the powers that the amulet possesses? What are its limitations? Does it have any limitations? And then you have the question about good and evil and who's on whose side. It makes you wonder a few things. There's some malevolency going on that we can't really put our finger on at this point. But still, the book held my attention. The series has held my attention for 2 books so far, and for Volume 2, I give another 4 out of 5 stars. So the series has held my attention this far, and I've liked it, so I can't wait to see how the 3rd book works out. Book 3, The Cloud Searchers. This is where the story starts to get interesting. So we have learned a few things. We have learned how evil is pretty much ruling the world that the kids are in. And we learned how Navin and Emily have been destined to help save the world. But to do that, they have to rely on the help of one of their new companions that they have picked up along the way from the 2nd book, from some information from the first 2 books that they've gathered. And in this book, they will pick up new allies and also have to deal with new foes. Now, in this book, there is a legend about a place that could possibly help them. Basically, for like any story, this would be like looking for Shangri-La or El Dorado, or like that one mythical city, or that one city that's supposed to help fight the forces of evil. Or this time, okay, so this book, I've noticed there's a lot of stuff that's very similar to like maybe Star Wars and maybe Lord of the Rings. It's like if these two were merged together. So now they're looking for, this is Empire Strikes Back, so they're looking for the Cloud City of Bespin in this one, just to get right down to brass tacks. Supposedly this city will help them find some power to help counteract the forces of evil. So they are on their search for it, but along the way they have to deal with they have to deal with a new threat that's trying to defeat them, and they also have to deal with B, potential allies. They don't know what their true agendas are. Are they good? Are they evil? It's unknown at this time, but the story was really good. Again, the visuals are a sight to behold, and it's really great looking. But there was one extra thing I liked about this book. At the end of the book, we actually get a map of the world that we are in. It's pretty awesome because it shows locations that we have been and some locations that we have not been to yet. So this may lead to some upcoming new locations in the future of the series. I really liked how the story's progressed so far, and I like all the plot turns, and I like how we get some pretty solid answers. Sure, there's some more questions, but after the first two books, by the third book, things are starting to tie up and make sense now. So it's going really good. So I give book 3 a solid 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, so I enjoyed this book very much. So now on to the next one. All right, book 4, The Last Council. All right, so let's get some information right now. So by now, it's been firmly established that the elves are the primary villain source in this series, and after seeing how elves have been used as the good guys for the Lord of the Rings, it's pretty interesting to see the elves on the other side of the coin. It's nice to see it's weird seeing them as the force of evil. Now, at the end of the previous book, we were introduced to a few new characters, but now thanks to the fourth book, they are firmly established. And one of these characters is named Max. He's also a stonekeeper, and he is trying to help, and from the looks of it, he looks like he's out there to help Emily and Navin find a way to stop the Elf King from taking over the world. Now, when we get to the lost city in the clouds, it's supposed to be like the Atlantis of the sky or whatever. Alright, so it's a good thing that the story is very beautifully illustrated because it just shows you how great the city looks. It's amazing. But while Emily and Navin are trying to figure out how to help stop the forces of evil, the rest of the gang is wandering around the city trying to just explore it. It's a great city, but it's basically a ghost town. Now, established in the previous books, some people are cursed to be half human and half animal of some sort. So there is some prejudice towards anyone who is like a halfling in this town. So while there's that going on, there's also something weird is going on with the town. How a lot of people are scared because they say some other people are ghosts. What that alludes to, I will let you guys figure out in the fourth story. Meanwhile, Emily and Max and some other stonekeepers are asked to take part in a series of tests to determine who will be next on the council. The council is supposed to be these people who will use their magic to help stop the forces of evil. So yeah, we have the tests going on to determine who will be the next great stonekeeper in the council, and we figure out that there's something going wrong in the city. Now, I like this because, well, like I said, this series, there's elements that remind me of Lord of the Rings and Star Wars mashed together, and this one has a pretty good combination of that. Especially how this is the Cloud City, so it's like Empire Strikes Back. But like I said, there's some underlying evil magic force at play. And, like its predecessor, in the back of this book, there is an illustration of the city and the area where the trials are being held. Yeah, so I like how the way the story is structured for the entire series. It gives us a series of questions, but it also gives us a series of answers. And after being lost in the dark for so long, it's answered a few more questions, but it's also raised a few of them. So I give this book a solid 5 stars out of 5 stars. Yeah, so I enjoyed this one. Volume 5, The Prince of Elves. This book was the last one to be published regularly in September. This was published in September of 2012, and it would be over a year before we got to Volume 6. Now, this volume starts off, it shows a glimpse of the past. One of the characters from the previous book, it is shown a flashback illustrating how they became to be who they are. And it's not exactly a good thing. It shows how the actions of others, especially how it's towards your friends, can affect the person you become. Now, I like the story because we found out several key players of both the sides of good and evil. And now that the evil has been officially eradicated from the city in the sky, it is now time to gather our forces and to fight back and to take down the Elf King. So I like this because they're trying to figure out how all this happened. How do we stop the Elf King? How do we use our powers appropriately? And what other secrets does the city have to offer? Now, one of the downsides to this book is how, now for the past books, there's been the publishing of like a map in the back. Now, granted, there is a map in the back of this one, but it's just the map of the world that we've seen before. So yeah, there's no new world map information or local map information. But on the other hand, we learn more about the powers that the amulets possess, and we see how people are able to use it, both in their various ways. So it's interesting to see the kind of magic that's at play here. Now, while we have a firm belief of why the Elf King is evil, we're trying to also figure out who is good and who is evil, and what motives drive them. Again, the book is a visual, stunning tour de force, and I like the story of this one. Once again, now Emily, her role as the Stonekeeper, and her ability to control magic, it's coming into play and showing how it's affecting the world around her. And we're also seeing how Max's foretelling prophecy as the commander is also coming into play. It's pretty great. The story has progressed along fairly well, and we're kind of getting at the point where we're starting to amass our forces to get ready to fight evil. So now it's great. I mean, we get to see a whole lot of the characters interact and how they just advance. It was a really great story. I liked how it progressed forward because it showed the coming storm that we will about to face. As for who will get out of it unscathed, it is unclear at this time. So I give this book a solid 5 out of 5 stars. And finally, the book that just came out this week, Volume 6, Escape from Luchan. I'm hoping I pronounced the name of this right. Yeah, so I waited 2 years for this book to come out. Like I said, I didn't wait 2 years for the book to come out. Okay, this book I thought was going to come out in 2013. It didn't, so 2014 of August, it came out. Now, okay. So at the end of the previous book, we were left with a chess scene between Emily and the forces that she has now deemed as evil, the spirit of the amulet. Now, okay. I thought at the way that book ended, I thought it would be brought up or mentioned or at least seen in the first part of this book, but no, the ending chess sequence was not seen. Now this book is is continuing from the previous book. We have seen our heroes be able to fight and hold their own against the forces of evil, whether it be mountain trolls, whether it be the Elf King's forces, or it be the personal struggles that they have to face, including the ally who is currently with them, the Prince of Elves. He is by now it's firmly established that he is in fact an ally in this series, so yeah. This book, they're getting ready to fight, but this is the low part of this is the bad part of the story. The plot twist, where something bad happens before you can get to the happy ending. Thank you, beautiful Joe. This is the part of the series where things go snowballing really fast. The army, on its way to help others and fight the good fight, are attacked. And there is a lot of conflict between several of the characters. You have the major characters who are having to deal with so many issues from other characters, both new and established. And then, I gotta admit, there's some kind of depressing parts to the story, the way that it's illustrated and also how, well, not the way it's illustrated, but the way that the story is going on. So, emotionally, the story gets a little dark and sad, and there's also just like so much stuff going on. It's like, okay, these characters have been prophesized to help save the world, yet there's some people who are completely ignorant about it. And then there's just the way that the forces of darkness are progressing. This is definitely the point where the tension is starting to mount up. And also, you see more again with the ability to use magic to view events from other timelines from the past, other people's memories and whatnot. This is definitely getting into the gritty details here for this part of the story. Now there was some good parts, I will admit to that, but overall, I felt this is where the story is getting very serious, and like I said, it's a very low point in the series, so I give for this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Now, like I said at the very start of this review, a 3 is good. The series has held my attention for this long, and the first 5 books were from great to amazing. Like I said, a number 2 or lower would be average and bad. But this is one of those. This is the moment in the story where you're like, oh man, this is getting serious. What's going to happen to all our heroes? And all this bad stuff is going on. Why? But yeah, so this is the very serious book. If you haven't picked up the series by now, this is going to be a very dark point for you. So I suggest you start with the first 5. Now, I know this review has been long, and I thank you for sticking with me if you have thus far. Basically, when the 6th book was coming out, I reread the entire series, volumes 1 through 5, to get ready for volume 6. So, my overall impression on the Amulet series. So let's see. Volume 1, 4 stars. Volume 2, 4 stars. 3, 4, and 5, 5 stars. Volume 6, 3 stars. So overall, I'd say the series I'll give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It has been really great. I mean, every book, the illustration is amazing. I like the story, and it's really great. It's not like your typical story. You don't have the whole teen anguish or you don't have like a teen. It's not a romance. It's not angsty. It's a really good story. It's a really good fantasy. It has magic. It has technology. There's some cheesy parts, and like I said, it kind of reminds me of in some areas of Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. It's a really good series. It's well written. There's some good humor, but there's some serious dark parts. And like I said, it's with the 6th book there was something missing. The events from the end of the 5th book didn't really transfer over too well into the 6th book. But it's really great because, I like it. There's still some questions that are not answered, like who is on whose side. There's some questions revolving around that. Then there's also the question of how many more volumes are in this series? How will the book end? Will we pick up any more allies? Will we pick up any more new foes? How will some characters be affected? Will they survive? Will they be destroyed? Will they be written out or forgotten, like go on to do something else while the main characters do all the work? Well, there's that potential for that one right there. But yeah, overall I'd say the Amulet series is really good. If you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend that you do. It was really great. I've enjoyed reading it, and I look forward to reading Volume 7 when it comes out next year. Hopefully it does come out next year. Yeah. So, thank you for being with me for this review. Sorry it was so long. But hey, like I said, I haven't done a book review in ages, so I'm a little rusty at this. Thank you for watching, and until next time, this has been LUCHA MAN for LUCHA MAN Reviews. Saying thanks for watching, and have a nice day.